Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Good morning and welcome to the Northeast Minneapolis Chamber Town Talk. We'll get started in just a few minutes. As you're joining us this morning, please know that your audio and video functions have been muted. We'll ask that you keep those turned off. If you're struggling with audio, you can use the up arrow that's next to the mute button for audio help. And you can communicate with hosts using the chat feature throughout the conversation this morning. We will begin in just a minute or two. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Please note that during the webinar, your audio and video will be turned off. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We'll get started in just a minute. We want other people to have some time to join. When you enter the webinar this morning, please note that your audio and video have been disabled, but we don't want that to dampen the conversation. So please put your questions in the Q&A as we start this conversation today. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let's get started. Welcome to this morning's Northeast Minneapolis Chamber Town Talk, focused on community solutions for food insecurity. This morning, as you join the webinar, your audio and video have been disabled, but we want you to interact with us using the Q&A function as we go through the conversation this morning. Also, please engage with us on social media. You can see our hashtag at the bottom and our handle, Northeast Minneapolis Chamber, and hashtag Northeast Town Talk. The Northeast Minneapolis Chamber Town Talk is a series that has been presented for 8 years, happily supported by CenterPoint Energy, Wells Fargo, and Xcel Energy. The intent of this program is to provide our members and the community insight into issues that are affecting the community broadly, but also Northeast Minneapolis specifically. And you'll see that with the representatives we have on in this conversation today. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Joanne Kaufman, who serves members in both Minneapolis and Northeast Minneapolis through her community engagement work. And she also serves as the executive director of the Warehouse Business District Association. Joanne, I'm going to turn it over to you. And thanks everyone for taking the time to join us this morning.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We have a great program, so I'm excited to get started. Joining us this morning is Rob Harsager. Rob has served as Food Programs Director for Eastside Neighborhood Services for 8 years, overseeing the high-rise mobile food shelf, senior food shelf, and Glendale food shelf programs. These food shelf programs work in partnership with housing agencies to provide food support to older adults and families living in their buildings. Eastside Neighborhood Services distributed nearly 1.1 million pounds of food to over 5,800 participants in 2020. We'll also hear from John Lacaria, Eastside Food Cooperative General Manager. John was hired as Eastside Food Co-op's General Manager in the summer of 2017 with over 15 years of co-op grocery experience, having started his career at the Wedge Co-op in 2003. Before becoming the General Manager, John was the front-end manager and store operations manager at Eastside Food Co-op. John lives with his wife and 2 sons in the Corcoran neighborhood in South Minneapolis and enjoys riding his bicycle as much as possible. Our third presenter this morning is Chef Liz Mullen. Chef Liz has worked in all facets of food and hospitality for the last 25 years, from a fine dining pastry chef to hotels and now catering. She has a love for cooking and appreciation for its possibility for endless discoveries. At Cowgirls, the standards for sourcing, commitment to sustainability, and thoughtfulness around their interactions have allowed Liz to grow a new kind of kitchen work environment. As catering halted in March 2020, Liz and the Cowgirls team started Minnesota Central Kitchen with fantastic partners Second Harvest Heartland, Loaves and Fishes, and The Good Acre. This is a full circle initiative that not only feeds our hungry community, but also employs out-of-work chefs, rescues food caught in our system, and sources locally from farmers. Liz believes that everyone should have access to healthy food and is amazed by the commitment so many have made to ensuring Minnesota Central Kitchen's future. She dreams of the day we will see food waste minimized and new systems working better to feed our communities. Thank you all for joining us this morning. And Rob, please take it away.
Well, thank you, Joanne, for the invitation to the Northeast Chamber, for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity to share about Eastside's food programs, and wanted to just begin by, we do call them food support programs. It's around the idea that, you know, there are emergency situations that come and go, but for the most part, the folks that use our, that receive our support are in need because of financial insecurity, or maybe lack of access to grocery stores and other stores where they can get the support that they need. So Eastside has operated 3 different food shelf programs for, well, in one case for the senior food shelf for over 35 years. And each of them have, as was mentioned in the intro, each of them have a special connection and partnership with housing agencies. And probably for the most part also built into it a delivery program. So I wanted to share a little bit first about our high-rise mobile food shelf. It's the largest program that we operate. And I'm not able to, there we go. Last year as was mentioned, we distributed over 1 million pounds of food. We have over 53,000 services delivered and 5,800 individuals who received assistance. And on average, we distributed about 20 pounds of food per service. And we do try to distribute a lot of healthy food. So produce on average makes up about 40% of the food that's given out through our 3 programs. Our mobile food shelf works in about 49 buildings. So these are apartment buildings. Again, we partner with housing agencies. They supply or provide the space in their buildings to set up a pop-up food shelf. So this is talking about pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. We are doing it a little differently, which I'll explain in a second. But and prior to that, we did a pop-up food shelf in a building. We pre-register people, and then we send food to serve that number of people. There's usually 15 to 20 different items. Again, a lot of fresh food, dairy, frozen meat, and some non-perishable items. The individuals, residents who live in the building are involved in implementing the program each time we do the distribution. There's one person who serves as a coordinator and others who serve in providing, just helping with the distribution piece. We have, as I said, 49 buildings. So this program in particular and the senior food shelf can serve throughout Hennepin County. In Minneapolis, we have about 30, or 2/3 of the buildings that we serve are in Minneapolis, and then the other third are in suburban areas in 11 different communities. For the most part, we used to deliver twice a month to most buildings. Since COVID came about, we've actually added buildings, but many of the buildings have gone down to 1 delivery a month. So I wanted to explain a little bit more about the what we're doing now with most of the buildings in terms of the distribution. We have gone to a prepackaged box of non-perishable and some produce boxes that we deliver. Again, we pre-register people, and then we deliver these boxes directly to the buildings. And within the building, staff of the building, whether it's managers or social workers or maintenance staff, or in some cases, some residents, will receive the boxes and then deliver them directly to the apartment doors of the individuals. So this change in how our model started last April when COVID hit, we really didn't lose a beat, and we went from the pre-box model or the pop-up model to the pre-box model very quickly. Just quickly, we do have the largest partnerships we have are with Minneapolis Public Housing and with Common Bond Communities. And there are, I think, 10 or 11 other housing programs that we partner with. Again, volunteers are vital to this program. When we do the pop-up food shelf, we have over 300 residents that serve as volunteers. And currently now we have food box packing events on a weekly basis at our small warehouse in the North Loop. And so we're using about 6 volunteers each of those events, and getting all these boxes packed in about 2 hours for each week of boxes. Again, we do try to ship out a lot of fresh food. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, we've had to reduce the amount of fresh food we give out. And we're hoping as things change, and hopefully when things are better, we will be able to move back into our pop-up model. The senior food shelf is located in Northeast Minneapolis. It's housed in the Parker Skyview Public Housing Building, and it is a fixed location. People come to the food shelf. We had a period of about a week where we've closed. Otherwise, we've been operating throughout the pandemic. And we also started a delivery program in July, because we have actually seen a significant decrease in the number of people who are coming to the building because of needing to quarantine. So we started a delivery program. We got funding from the CARES Act to purchase a refrigerated van. And we are still working at doing a lot of outreach to get people to know about this opportunity. But this program provides food once a month to persons 55 and older, or persons with disabilities and their household members. So it's not restricted just to the one person, but to whoever's in their household. Then the third program we have is called Glendale Food Shelf, and it's located in Glendale Townhomes, which is a Minneapolis public housing community. Eastside has been operating a food shelf that serves the residents of this community for about 10 years. And this program is pretty unique in terms of food shelves. Most food shelves limit the number of times that you can come to receive a service. We have an open opportunity for people to come frequently. We do allocate a certain amount of pounds per person. So it's 25 pounds per person in each household. So if it's a household of 6, they would be eligible to receive about 150 pounds of food, in addition to some free items that don't count towards their poundage. So there's a considerable supply of food. This community is quite diverse, and we do try to obtain foods in all of our programs that reflect the cultures of the people that we participate with. But our staff in this program also reflect that community, which is quite important. How do we source our food? Well, we do direct food pickups at retail grocery stores. In Northeast with Lunds and Byerly's, we go 5 times a week, and with the Target store in Dickeytown, we go twice a week, and Cub We went 5 times a week in Quarry. So that's a really important part of how we get our food, and how we also save a lot of food from that's still very good food from being disposed of. Our partnerships with Second Harvest Heartland and the food group allow us access to donations from manufacturers. We also get direct donations from manufacturers. We participate in a federal program called the Emergency Food Assistance Program. And the state of Minnesota has a program called Farm to Food Shelf, which is done through Second Harvest Heartland. So we, during the summer months in particular, are able to increase the amount of fresh food coming directly from farmers in Minnesota. And the state of Minnesota has also authorized money annually to purchase milk to support food shelves, to be able to provide fresh milk each year. And of course, we do have to purchase items that aren't donated to us. So we do purchase a regular supply of fresh food that we aren't able to receive in donations, as well as other cultural foods to ensure quality and variety. So again, our participants are in joining our program because, you know, they may not have enough money, they're on fixed incomes. They appreciate the food shelves, and particularly the senior food shelf. I think those that are older appreciate being able to come to a food shelf that's specifically kind of catering to their needs. And just wanted to close by showing another slide here of our mobile food shelf, our pop-up food shelf. The other part of what we do with that program is that it provides an opportunity for individuals to come together who live in the building. You know, that unfortunately has been closed for a period of several, nearly a year now. But we're really hoping that throughout this year, with vaccination programs and so forth, we're all praying for that, hoping for that, we'll be able to come back to that, because this type of interaction and social interaction is really helpful for those who are in the community. So that ends my official presentation. I'm happy to have any questions at the time when, I want to say one more thing, sorry. March is Minnesota Food Share Month. So another way to support what we're doing is to consider doing a food or fund drive during the month of March. That money comes directly to Eastside, but we also get a proportional match through the food share program that happens, and then we'll end up getting that match later on in the year, which is also really helpful. So consider that, and I can certainly provide more information about that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob. Really interesting stuff. Let's hear now from Chef Liz about what she's doing.
Good morning, everyone. So since last March, obviously we saw all of our catering business kind of disappear. And we have had a long relationship with Second Harvest Heartland and their Meal Connect app, which was a way for us at Chowgirls, being a very sustainable focused company, that we could use our leftover foods to give to Second Harvest Heartland, and they would find a place to put that food. So we've been using that program really heavily ever since the Super Bowl, when it was here in Minneapolis. So as soon as March rolled around, I reached out to one of my friends over at Second Harvest and offered up our kitchen as a place of need, if there was such need, which now we know the need is great. Especially right now during COVID. So they teamed up with Loaves and Fishes, and the Good Acre was a big part of our distribution as well. And yeah, we started Minnesota Central Kitchen. Chowgirls makes about 9,000 meals a week right now. The whole program has 9 kitchens in it. Which makes a little under 20,000 prepared meals a week. So what I love about this program is that not only is it feeding our neighborhood and feeding our community, but it's employing chefs, and it's employing food service workers to come back and work, and also supporting our farmers. So we are able to purchase through the Good Acre or other farmers that we've used in the past, because those folks need our support right now. I'm kind of more new to this food insecurity world. And I think that there's a lot of things that we can do to change and shake the whole system up. I mean, COVID is obviously a terrible time for when you need food, but that need was there before. So I really have taken this opportunity to just kind of ask questions. What can we do differently? What I like about MCK, like I said, it's kind of treating that full circle of, taking care of the farmer, taking care of our community, and our workforce. So I just look forward to what we can do in the future to change some of the systems that may not be working for all. If that's minimum wage, or being able to have people provide for themselves, and not lean so heavily on all of these programs that have been set up, that I think those have been set up since the 80s, and with government support. But I really look forward to what we can do to totally shake this whole system up. So yeah, right now we're just, keep going with MCK. We're looking at new ways that we can continue this work. Getting prepared meals into food shelves. And what I keep hearing from people in food insecurity is really meeting people where they are. And so just looking for ways and different ways that we can do that. And it's not just, not that there's so much food out there in the system that gets discarded, and food waste. And that's really where I see a huge, we can make huge changes there. About 40% of the food that we grow is wasted, which is just astronomical when you think about that. And then also just kind of looking at our landfills and what is in there, about 18% of our landfill waste is food waste. So I think that there's a lot of tightening up that we can do, hopefully with the help of, corporations, businesses, people like me that work in kitchens. And then there's a lot that we can do at home too. So thinking about how we all treat our food at home, and for me personally, leftovers is always a big one. We just worked with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency about kind of using your leftovers and thinking of food in a different way. But yeah, and then hopefully that can transfer into helping more people. So that is my new mission, and I feel really, really lucky to work at Cowgirls, to have that support, and like-minded people that will continue to push to better our community.
Thank you so much, Chef Liz. It's really interesting stuff, and really gets you thinking. And now, if we could, John, if you could get start your there you go. John, if you want to go ahead and tell us what you've got.
Yeah, so it's great to be here with everyone today. As you know, my name is John Lacaria. I'm the general manager at Eastside Food Cooperative. And Eastside is a natural foods grocery store. We specialize in organic and locally grown and produced foods. And Eastside was formed, like many cooperative businesses, when a group of community members came together in the 90s and started to ask the question, why don't we have a grocery store that meets our needs in our neighborhood? Through conversations and dinner parties, what started as a question became a community-owned business designed to specifically meet the needs of the flourishing Northeast arts and culture community. Eastside opened its doors to its community, including 800 co-op owners in December 2003, and we had $2 million in sales that first year. Last year, our ownership counts grew to 9,600, and the store had 17.6 million in sales. We currently employ about 115 employees. Through its 17 years of operations, Eastside has listened closely to its community of owners and shoppers in order to create a store experience that not only meets their food and wellness needs, but also provides a place where the community comes to connect. And it's on that idea of building strong communities that I want to dwell as we talk about addressing food insecurity. Healthy communities that allow the members of the community to thrive must be nourished in order for us to address food insecurity. A recent Atlantic book review of Alec McGillis' new work, Fulfillment, Winning and Losing in One Click America, contains this sobering statistic. The world's billionaires increased their wealth by about a fifth over the course of last year to more than $11 trillion. Meanwhile, a quarter of US adults said someone in their household was laid off or lost a job because of the pandemic. The Center on Policy and Budget Priorities began reporting in early May on the correlation between the economic crisis and rising food insecurity. They noted that 46.5% of families experiencing job or income loss reported spending less money on food during the previous month in a survey that was conducted by the Urban Institute in late March and early April. Further evidence of growing food insecurity can be found in an article NPR published in September of 2020. They reported that before the pandemic, 10.5% of households in the United States said they experienced food insecurity at some point during 2019. Then an analysis by the Brookings Institution in late June of 2020 found that 27.5% of families with children were food insecure. As we look a little bit closer to home, we can find data about the Northeast community on the Minnesota Compass website. From 2015 to 2019, 39% of households reported income under $50,000 in Northeast, with more than 70% of these households reporting income under $35,000. Meanwhile, median rent in Northeast grew to $1,458 a month. To put this in perspective, a household making less than $35,000 would expect to spend more than 50% of their pre-tax income on housing when choosing to live in Northeast. For these reasons, food insecurity has become a really important issue for us at Eastside Food Co-op. And in 2019, in October, we announced the launch of our FARE program. That's F-A-R-E. It's meant to stand for Food Access to Restore Equity. This affordability program is designed to help shoppers stretch their dollars with an everyday discount on fresh produce and affordable staple items for their families. We identified several priorities when we developed the FARE program. Most important was that we wanted the program to be centered on meeting the community's needs. To support this goal, we prioritized listening to experts in the food access sector for guidance. We spoke with staff from local food shelves and human services organizations. And more importantly, we spent time talking to residents participating in the Market Bucks program at the Northeast Farmers Market. Overwhelmingly, we heard that residents enrolled in food assistance programs want better access to fresh foods. For this reason, we structured our affordability program so that FARE shoppers receive a 20% discount on fresh fruits and vegetables found in Eastside's produce department and affordable staple items throughout the store. As we further developed this program, it was important to us that it was participant-centered with really minimal paperwork, simple verification methods, and dignity and anonymity at the register. As a result, we've designed a program open to any Minnesotan enrolled in SNAP, MFAP, MFIP, or WIC. Participants receive their discounts automatically at the register, and every time they use their EBT card in the store, they have their eligibility automatically extended for an additional 90 days. Not only does this make it easy for people to remain in the program, it also provides a discount to participants when they need it most, after their monthly EBT benefits have already been exhausted. As we continue to develop and refine this program, we are focused on making sure the FAIR program includes affordable items and that we know are critical staple foods for our community. We also continue to refine our pricing and product mix so that shoppers have more options for trading up or down when making food decisions. Coupled with the classes, recipes, and shopping lists that our marketing department has developed, we're hearing from FAIR participants how meaningful our efforts have been. Now that we're a little more than 1 year since the inception of the program, FAIR has served over 200 households, provided over $10,000 in discounts, and allowed the co-op to develop stronger partnerships with local health clinics and community organizations. As for FAIR participants, we found that they are purchasing 5 to 7% more produce than non-participant shoppers. One shopper shared with us, "Thank you for offering FAIR. It allows my family to have access to organic and local foods we otherwise couldn't afford." In addition to our affordability program, Eastside is taking other efforts to address food insecurity in our community. The reduction of waste has long been a priority of our co-op, and we are proud to partner with several local organizations to rescue food that would otherwise end up in the trash. Over the last several years, we've partnered with organizations like Eastside Neighborhood Services, who we heard from earlier, Twin Cities Food Justice, North Country Food Alliance, and Food Not Bombs. While the amount of food we donate kind of pales in comparison to the amount of food being distributed by local food shelves, our donations do provide fresh foods to organizations and individuals that might otherwise struggle to access them. For instance, over this past summer, we were able to partner with a group of concerned Minneapolis residents to donate over 1,800 pounds of ice to our unhoused neighbors. Finally, as we were approaching March, I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention Eastside's and other co-ops' participation in Minnesota Food Share's March campaign. 2021 will mark the 40th anniversary of this campaign that began with an effort to restock the food shelves of the 7-county Twin Cities area. Now, as the largest grassroots food and fun drive in the state, the March campaign brings together a diverse group of people and organizations to stock nearly 300 food shelves statewide. During the 2020 campaign, more than $21.5 million and 7.4 million pounds of food shelf items were raised by Minnesota Food Shelves. Minnesota food co-ops collectively provided just under 6,000 pounds of food and a little more than $160,000 in cash donations. At Eastside, the Minnesota Food Share March campaign supports Little Kitchen Food Shelf, which is one of the 12 recipients of our annual Seedlings program. Through the Seedlings program, we raise money from our community to support organizations working in the food access, agriculture, and environmental sectors. We will open our application process for the 2022 seedling recipients later this spring. Well, I'd love to spend more time talking to you about the ways Eastside is addressing food insecurity in our community. I'm sure I'm nearing the end of my allotted time. However, before I finish, I do want to mention that the killing of George Floyd deeply impacted Eastside's cooperative community and caused us to further commit to pursuing diversity, equity, and inclusivity in our work. Although I know I have a lot more to learn in order to better support these ideals, I also know that addressing systemic racism must be a part of addressing food insecurity. As a result, I'd like to invite everyone participating on this call to a panel discussion about the film Jim Crow of the North that the Twin Cities Food Co-ops are hosting in partnership with TPT and the Eastside Freedom Library tomorrow night. During this free event, the panel will be exploring why Minnesotans experience some of the worst racial disparities in home ownership in this country, as well as how the cooperative community can address the related inequity of food access. And on that, I want to thank you for your time, and I'm excited to answer any questions people might have.
Thank you so much, John. This is such great information from everybody. We did have one question in the first question in the chat, and that was, Chef Liz, if there are volunteer opportunities at Minnesota Central Kitchen.
So there's volunteer opportunities through MCK, but not necessarily at Chow Girls, as we are not a nonprofit. So a lot of our food is getting distributed, like I said, through Loaves and Fishes. There's about 52 sites, I think now over that, 52 sites all around the Twin Cities area. They are always looking for volunteers. So you can go to Loaves and Fishes website to sign up there. Also, Second Harvest has just reopened their volunteering at their headquarters in Brooklyn Park to pack boxes. So that's another volunteer opportunity through all of this. But yeah, Chowgirls employs, so we are able to pay anyone that's coming to make this food, which again feels really great and feels like it's helping part of the problem. So
How many, and obviously that sector of industry has been harder hit than many others. How many chefs have you been able to reemploy?
So we have about 52 employees right now, which, Chowgirls is kind of a seasonal business. So when we get into the summer months on a typical year, we're employing about 150 people, some part-time, as servers and bartenders. But yeah, we were able to bring 52 people basically full-time now. So
That's fantastic.
it is.
I was astounded by the percentage of landfill that is food waste.
Yes.
What can we do on an individual level to besides eat our food? I mean, you mentioned leftovers.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Yeah, I think, it's only buying what you need. To me, it's really keeping your fridge crazy organized, like really if something is about to go bad or you see it, that pepper is starting to get wrinkly, or I keep all of that food kind of at the top in front of my face. So all my leftovers, anything that needs to get used up. We talk about in the food industry a thing called FIFO, which is first in, first out. It's just how I'm sure John does everything too at the grocery store. So the new stuff goes in the back. So some little things that you can do. Is just keep your fridge organized, put newer stuff in the back. Don't be tempted to, eat all the yummy stuff right away. And eat your leftovers, find a way to warm them up. My MPCA presentation I did was nachos. So really easily being able to use up, rice bits from the Chinese restaurant you just ordered from, and meat bits that aren't enough to feed your whole family for the second meal can be chopped up, mixed with salsa, spread over chips. Also a really easy meal for people with kids, and quick and easy. So
Great, thank you so much.
yeah.
John, I'm fascinated by the FAIR, by the Food Access to Restore Equity, and the easy access. How have you made that access easy? Because I think that can be cumbersome to people, and it doesn't feel good sometimes for people to ask for that help.
It was one of the really important things for us as we designed that program. We were that some of the other Twin Cities co-ops got into affordability programs before us, and so we were able to kind of learn from their experiences working with their communities. And one of the things we heard overwhelmingly is that most co-ops have an annual renewal process, and it's just really complicated, both on the organization and for the participants. And so we worked with our IT department. We have a really great IT manager here at the store who's been with the organization the entire time that the store has been open. And he was able to work with our point of sale provider to set up a script that runs every night that just automatically renews the people's eligibility for the program. And I think it's been a really important piece of it. I know I've been really fortunate in my life. I've never had to struggle with food insecurity, but I do know that one of the hardest parts about that is that always trying to prove that you're worthy of receiving these types of things. And so we're happy to kind of provide some of that dignity and anonymity in the experience.
And Rob, you mentioned the Minnesota Food Share March coming up in March. Can you tell us more about that and the match that you receive and how we can help with that?
Yeah, so Minnesota Food Share, I think John mentioned that it's got a long history of supporting food shelves. So we joined that campaign, and all the food that we collect as donated food during the month of March equates to a certain, I forget if it's $1. I think it's $1 per pound or something like that. And then all the donated funds that come directly to our food shelf program are also collected. So that total amount is, it comes directly to us, and we use that in our programs. And then when there are, then that part, what we raise is a percentage of the total that Minnesota Food Share raised. So we get, a small percent, but I think last year it was around $1,500 in match that we received. So it's not just dollars that are part of what we're doing. We're also raising food. So whatever food donated comes from retail stores, as well as individuals or congregations or whoever donates food during the month of March, that counts towards a dollar match that'll come later in the year.
And as individuals and companies, is it better to donate food or is it better to donate cash? I mean, I would imagine you probably get more bang for your buck when it's cash because you have better buying power than we do.
That's true. I think, through our partnerships with Second Harvest and the food group, the two food banks in Minnesota, we're able to access food either at a wholesale cost or basically there might be a handling fee that, like, Second Harvest charges a handling fee. So I think, in times past, I figured out that it was about, we could get 10 pounds of food for $1, basically, through our buying power through food banks. So yeah, giving $1, but doing a food drive, that's also another way to energize your community. They like the hands-on part of collecting food and that kind of thing too. And we certainly can use food and give it directly to our participants.
Thank you. This question is kind of for all three of you. But, obviously we've become more aware of this since the start of the pandemic about 11 months ago when things started to shut down. And I'm wondering how you see things. The problem has always been there. Obviously, people have lost their jobs and we've become more aware of this. What do you see happening as we kind of get out of this, as we see people begin to get vaccinated, those who've lost their job perhaps get back to work in some fashion? What have we learned from this, and how do we continue the efforts that have helped to feed so many over the last 11 months? And I'll let whoever wants to jump in first.
Well, I think, as I mentioned, we are really hoping to be able to return to our pop-up model of distribution through our mobile food shelf, because it's a way of providing more fresh food. It brings community together. And I think, people are better off. Obviously, we're all better off if we can gather together in our buildings instead of going directly to our apartment and staying there the whole time. So the community rooms in each of these apartment buildings will open up, and hopefully that'll bring about a better community. But we have seen an increase in the number of people we're serving through this program through the time of the pandemic. But we've also had to close opportunities. So there have been 2 or 3 buildings that have closed, and some of the buildings that had maybe getting 2 deliveries a month, we're only delivering once a month now. So we're hoping to return back to, kind of a full program. That's what we're hoping.
Great, thank you. Liz, you look like you have something you'd like to say.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Well, I right now the statistics are 1 in 11, or 1 in 9, and it used to be 1 in 11, and I think, that's not good either. So this is where I really think what are the basic foundations of food insecurity, and how do we get to those root problems? So thankful for all of the nonprofit sectors that have been feeding our communities, but I do think that there needs to be some bigger changes as far as equality and getting people paid correctly and having work provided for all for everyone. Um, those are the things that I keep laying in bed at night thinking about. Is there's some fundamental things of how we can get food to people, um, and employment and being able to provide for themselves is a key part. I do believe.
Mhm, mhm. John, what do you think? What do you see?
I mean, I would piggyback on a lot of what both of these guys have said. We know that this problem is not going to go away. Before the pandemic, 10% of households were saying that they were facing food insecurity during the previous year. So the problem will be there. There's a lot of people working to address this, and I believe that it starts with creating healthier communities with less inequalities. The grocery industry is not the best paying industry in the world, and particularly when you look at some of these larger corporations like Amazon and Walmart, the number of workers that are working for these organizations that are also depending on government assistance in order to buy food is really we need to take a hard look at that as a society. And I don't think that the solution is just to provide people with free food. It's to empower people to be able to purchase their own food. And we have a lot of work in order to get there. But I think it starts with bringing. I think community solutions are part of the solution, and I think that the more that we can kind of bring diverse groups together, the more likely we are to find solutions that'll work for individual communities. It's not a one size fits all approach, that's for sure.
That leads to the next question. Collaboration is so essential to all of the work that all three of you are doing. How can other organizations begin to foster similar relationships? What is it? You've done such amazing work. What does it take for that to happen with other organizations? And I'll leave it to anyone that wants to answer that.
I can keep talking. I think it starts with just identifying the difference you want to make in your community. We live in such a unique area of the country where we have so many social organizations that are working to solve some of the problems that we have in the Twin Cities. Like that, it's easy to find a partner who wants to solve an issue that you've identified as important to you. The hard part is identifying what that issue is that's important for you. But the partners are out there and they want to work with you. I mean, we haven't had any problems partnering with anyone.
That's great. Liz, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's super essential. This is the most I've talked to so many different groups of people in the last year. I feel really lucky to be connected to so many great organizations. But yeah, I think that there is having the conversations, having hard conversations, asking. I keep asking a lot of questions of everyone. Like really, not that it's a one solution fix, but where do you what kind of solutions do you see changing this whole spectrum? So I think just having those hard conversations and asking the questions.
Mm-hmm. I think that we know that the problem persisted. Food insecurity was a big problem before the pandemic at 1 in 11 and now 1 in 9. And so perhaps it's helped to destigmatize some of that because now I think it's probably a little bit more, I don't know the right word to use, but and so perhaps on the other side, as we all work together on solutions, do you see the same kind of cooperation amongst organizations happening in other areas? I know, John, you said you had worked at the Wedge, and the three of you, have such great partnerships in Northeast. What do you see happening in other parts of the city? And maybe John, just because of your co-op background and with other co-ops, if you're seeing that happening in other parts of the city.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Twin Cities co-ops, we all run triple bottom line businesses, which mean that not only are we concerned about profitability, we're also concerned about people and the planet. So we take a real interest in our distinct communities that we serve. And I know that all of the Twin City co-ops have some sort of charitable giving program as part of their work. I also we're a Minnesota Keystone participant, which the chamber is involved in, and charitable giving in Minnesota, it's like so many. I'll keep coming. Like we live in such a unique area of the country, with all of our social services organizations, with all of the companies that have headquarters here, and I'd say that the leaders of a lot of those companies are worried about their communities and want to see people succeed. So there's plenty of momentum. It's just it's doing the work, right? It's keep doing the work. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you, for doing the work, because it is so important, and we are so appreciative, and you're really making such a difference. I'm inspired by you, and it makes me want to get out and do something myself. And without any further questions, do each of you have anything that you want to say, kind of as a final thing, a call to action for all of us here this morning? Anything further?
I just say that, with the food shelf programs and food banks, the partnership with businesses, particularly food businesses, but other businesses have been just central to how this sector of our world has grown. The food support sector has just grown immensely, and that's as a result of a lot of food companies, businesses at all levels, seeing the need to be a part of a solution, or at least a part of helping out. And that's just I've been involved in it for 35 years or so, and seeing where it started and where we're at now is just an amazing shift in how great the business community has been, and seeing how important it is to share their expertise and share their resources with those in the community who may need it.
Thank you so much. Chef Liz?
Yeah, I would say, I think, I mean, obviously, if you can give, that's great. But I think on a personal level, supporting companies that align with your values, putting your specific money where you think it should go. We all don't need that instant Amazon. Take a moment, think about where you're putting your money. Yeah, and check on your neighbors, just make sure that you're, reach out. I think that's one thing we can all do is, just trying to reach out to individual people and making sure that we're supporting where we can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
John, any final thoughts?
I certainly don't need to be the last word, but I think I'll say a couple things. Number one, I think continue to support local restaurants during this time. The people that work there are really dependent on the income, so let's continue to support our local restaurants. I also just want to put a plug in there for continuing to support efforts to get essential employees who haven't fallen into the priority groups quite yet vaccinated. We're so happy to see that people 65 and older are able to get vaccinated right now. Although I do know I have a bunch of employees at the co-op who have been working this whole time who want to get vaccinated too. So any help that you can help us in making sure that grocery workers, farm workers, people working in kitchens at restaurants can get access to these vaccines would be really helpful.
Great. Thank you all so much. This was such a really illuminating conversation this morning, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you again to our sponsors, CenterPoint Energy, Wells Fargo, and XL Energy. Join us for our next Town Talk scheduled for April 20th. Watch for information on that, and have a great day all. Thank you.